Got it. Okay.
So Scarlett and I are going to do some songs that her dad wrote, and that we used to do when we were in a band together. Mick was an old friend of mine, predated Scarlett by a few years, and our friendship, and then it went on till his last days, the last couple of years. Anyway, these are songs that he wrote. The first one, this first one we're going to do is called "Red Wing Weep." Bless her lost soul, she's so damn cold. Someone has broken her heart. Hail the night tide, cried the child bride, keeping us so far apart. Red wing weep, autumn's calling us, reminding me that summer's almost gone. Dark word for the caged bird will seize its moment to flee. Wed at 16, the fugitive queen, live after to be free. Autumn's calling us, reminding me that summer's almost gone. Not a damp eye as innocence dies, I was laid to rest in the shallow grave. Neath the dogwood, the wild child stood, intent to lead me astray. Red wing weep, autumn's calling us, reminding me that summer's almost gone. It's a wild ride down the ice slide, and Greenwood's quiet but it's deep. Up at first light, poised to take flight, as we so show shall we read. Red wing weep, autumn's calling us, reminding me that summer's almost gone. She's a blackbird, has the last word. You love her more than she loves you. October dreamscape frames her escape. She's gone and you play the fool. Red wing weep, autumn's calling us, reminding me that summer's almost gone.
That was lovely. Oh, and I love that your dad wrote the lyrics and the music for it as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he did.
Do you remember him
And
singing?
so I would sing the backup. So this time John took the lead and I was singing on the harmony.
Nice. That's awesome. I like that you revived the memory of him and the music. That's beautiful.
It always feels a little sad that things can be so ephemeral. Like if nobody performs a song, it's gone. I sort of am envious of people who create, solid art that can hang on somebody's wall forever or sit on a countertop or wherever it is. But songs and some other things need to be kept alive by somebody else. So I'm happy we're getting to do this a little bit.
Me too. And there's like a catalog that we get to explore.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see about that.
Little by little, sprinklings.
There are some recordings. Yes.
Okay. I meant there's a fair amount of music that Oh, go ahead.
There is, yeah.
Yeah, there
It's sort
is.
of just really whether you're skilled enough to carry them
Yeah.
through.
You can YouTube Mick Wolf and Wittershins. There's some recordings of his out there. The last, is it the last recording he did? Was that, I think it's still out on YouTube
Yeah. Well, there's stuff on Spotify and like
Spotify.
Apple
Yeah.
Music too. So,
Wow.
yeah. You just have to look Mick Wolf Witter. Witter.
There's more than one Mick Wolf, as it turns out.
Yeah. Well,
Mick, like MC?
Mick.
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 And
Oh,
there's
got it. Mick, and then last name Wolf.
Wolf. Yeah.
Stage name.
That was his performance persona.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Will we come back to you later? Yes. Okay. All right, lovely. Thank you. Who would like to go next? I was thinking we could do a sandwich, but like music, whatever. I don't care. I really have no preference. So whoever unmutes first.
I can go. Yeah.
Okay.
Fine. Because I don't have this written right now, but I've been working something out of my mind about red-winged blackbirds because there's so many of them in our area, and every day when I go on walks, I see them we live in a very small town. There's a river behind the house, and then it kind of goes out into some really nature areas. And I walk the dog and I see these red-winged blackbirds all the time, and I've been trying to work something out. So maybe in the next couple of weeks or the next couple of open mics, I'll have written it out. But when you started singing, I was like, oh my goodness, that's exactly what I've been mulling lately. So it was awesome to hear that. I'm going to read something here that I've read it before, but I don't think I've read it for anybody who's here except Christina. You probably heard this before because you've been obviously every single one. But I don't think anybody else has, so I'm going to read it again. It's called "We Can't Talk." Mickey walked up the wooden stairs to the elevated train station, steadying himself with the handrail as he went. Don't look down, he told himself, and then gave a short, snorting laugh at the dramatic advice. Don't be an idiot was his next thought. It would be very difficult to fall down the steps all the way down to the street. You might slip, but you'd catch yourself. You're not that drunk, just a little buzzed. The worn toe of his black combat boot caught the edge of a step as he neared the top of the staircase, and he tripped up the last couple of steps onto the deserted platform. Mickey laughed out loud as he reeled around, trying to regain his balance. See, he told himself, you tripped, but you fell down. Or no, you didn't fall down. You tripped up. That made him laugh harder. Tripped up. Sounds like he couldn't think of the word it sounded like. A mortar? A Mennonite? No, a Mennonite is a church guy thing. He's dynamite. The world is mentorite. The meteorite. No, the mental for. That's it. Mental for? The metaphor. Mickey plopped onto a bench under a billboard advertising Marlboro cigarettes. He craned his neck around backwards to see the blurry picture of the men on horseback. They had white hats and brown coats with sheepskin lining. He pulled his own sheepskin coat closer around him, wishing his was the real deal, wishing his was warmer. The men on horseback looked warm, even in the cold. Mickey leaned back and closed his eyes. He wondered when the train would arrive. On second thought, who cares? He was tired of walking, and it was nice to sit on the bench. He noticed there was a heat lamp above him, so he got to his feet and shuffled over to turn it on. The lamp buzzed to life, emitting a dim orange glow that brightened slowly as he made his way back to the bench. Mickey sat down heavily and stretched his legs out, straight onto the platform in front of him. The heat pulsating down from the lamp felt good. It felt amazing, actually. He wished his apartment was that warm. Maybe I'll just sleep here, he thought. He considered that for a moment as he leaned his head back again, closing his eyes. Maybe I could just sleep here. It's late. All the crazies are probably home already. No one will bug me, I bet. Yeah, I bet no one will bug me. The whole platform seemed to be rotating slowly, so he opened his eyes to make it stop. He opened and closed his eyes slowly several times, feeling the rotating slowing down incrementally each time. It was his trick for reducing the spins, as he called the feeling. After a few minutes, the platform still rotated when he closed his eyes, but so slowly he almost didn't notice. Mickey finally opened his eyes again and adjusted his position a little so that his rib cage was leaning on the armrail and his arm was slung over the back of the bench. He felt fairly stable. Now it was just a matter of waiting. Mickey could wait for the train, or he could sleep on the platform. It wouldn't be the first time he'd slept on a bench all night. He decided if he was still awake when the train arrived, he would take it. Otherwise, the sound of footsteps made Mickey glance over towards the stairway. Someone was coming up the steps to the platform. Mickey didn't adjust his body at all, but he just turned his head ever so slightly and then shifted his eyes over to get a look at the stairs. He wanted to look at who was coming up to the platform without seeming to be looking. From that direction, it would appear as though Mickey were looking straight ahead, which is the impression he was hoping to give. The impression that he didn't care that someone was approaching the platform at 3:30 a.m. on a Saturday night with no one else anywhere in sight or within earshot. A young man about Mickey's age walked onto the platform, bundled in a coat, scarf, and hat. Mickey decided instantly that the young man wasn't dressed at all like the image of a hoodlum he had in his head, and relaxed, but kept looking out of the side of his eyes. The young man stopped briefly when he saw Mickey, and then went and sat on a bench nearby. Mickey adjusted slightly, again, so that he could keep the other young man in his peripheral vision. Mickey had terrific peripheral vision. He had perfected this way back in high school in Texas when he was a scrawny kid who got constantly harassed by jocks. He would watch out of the side of his eyes as he got dressed in the locker room after a shower and move out of the way just as a burly football player snapped a towel where his thigh had been. It turned out the jocks thought this game was hilarious, and they outdid each other to try and sneak up on Mickey throughout the day. Mickey was good. They called him Slippery Mickey. He got snapped or pushed into a row of lockers in the hallway on occasion, but rarely. And eventually the bullying subsided a bit. And now Mickey used those skills, that peripheral vision, to keep tabs on the stranger on the platform of an elevated train in the middle of the night in Chicago. That's how survival works. The platform was steady now, no more spinning, and he felt tired. His eyes felt tired, and shifting them to the side was a strain. He rubbed the back of his head once or twice and let his gaze drift. He would check in on the other young man occasionally. He didn't seem like a threat to Mickey. He was sitting over on his bench with his hands in his coat pockets, leaning forward, his knees together, looking down at the platform. Mickey hoped the other guy wasn't going to puke or something over there. Who knows what the sight of someone puking would do to him in this condition. He rarely threw up when he was drunk, but it wasn't fun, and he wasn't in the mood to find out if he needed to tonight. Mickey's gaze drifted again as he thought back over the evening. Beer, shooting pool, more beer, cigarettes. He wished he had bought a pack on his way out of the bar, but he didn't feel like paying $3 for a pack from the machine. He'd get a pack tomorrow for $1.85 at the discount store. He could go one night without a smoke, probably. Mickey suddenly realized he had forgotten to check back in with the other young man. At the same time, he realized the young man was sitting down on the bench next to him. Mickey straightened up and coughed, scraping his legs back into a more upright sitting position. He turned his head slightly in the direction of the other young man and saw that he was holding a small notebook in his hand, offering it to Mickey. Mickey mumbled and waved a hand in his direction and shook his head, but the notebook stayed where it was, hovering just off to Mickey's left. Mickey turned his head to look at the young man, realizing he was actually even younger than he thought, maybe still a teenager, or 20 at most. "No thanks," said Mickey brusquely, not smiling. He cleared his throat and waved his hand again, but the young man leaned closer, still offering the notebook. Mickey turned and looked at the young man full in the face, doing his best to look annoyed. The young man smiled at him, a slow, honest smile, and dropped the notebook on the bench next to Mickey. For a moment, Mickey continued to stare at him. He looked vaguely ethnic, possibly Hispanic or Filipino, and was handsome in the way that some young people are. He had an open face and kind, interested eyes. The young man pointed at the notebook, and Mickey looked down at where it lay. It was a very small notebook with spiral binding across the top, so you could flip the pages up and back. Mickey picked up the notebook and glanced at it. He saw that the young man had written the words, "Why are you sad?" in sloppy cursive on the page. Mickey looked back up at the young man, who was still smiling at him. The young man handed him a pen. "I'm not sad, I'm drunk," said Mickey. He hadn't yet decided if he wanted this interaction to last, so he remained unsmiling. "Is there something you need?" The young man gestured for the notebook, and Mickey handed it back. He watched him write, "I'm deaf. I can't read lips very well. Please write." Mickey understood. He smiled. "Sorry," he wrote. "I'm drunk, not sad." Now the young man grinned. "I was drunk," he wrote, "but I'm not now. My name is Fernando." "Drunk tonight?" wrote Mickey. "Yes. What is your name?" "Mickey." "Why are you drunk, Mickey?" Mickey laughed out loud. "Beer," he wrote. "You?" "My friend is sick," wrote Fernando. "How sick?" wrote Mickey, and then wished he hadn't written it. "Very sick, might die," wrote Fernando, his face turning serious. Mickey sat looking at the notebook. He didn't know what to write. He felt defensive suddenly. What did this kid want from him? Money? He lived in Chicago plenty long enough to know the score. He looked back at Fernando, who had an open, honest look on his face. He looked just like a kid, but Mickey was still wary. Honesty can be faked with practice. "Live around here?" asked Mickey. "No." "Me neither," wrote Mickey, and passed the notebook back. They sat in silence, broken only by the buzzing of the heat lamp above. Mickey reflected that they had already been sitting in silence, but the new silence was clearer, like the cool night sky. Fernando handed the notebook back, and Mickey read, "You drunk a lot?" Mickey shrugged. "I guess, not your business." He felt weird writing something so confrontational, but he felt he had to draw some boundaries. He felt he had to let Fernando know he wasn't taken in by his sick friend and his deaf act. Was he even really deaf? Was this some sort of con? "Where do you drink around here?" wrote Fernando. "Places," wrote Mickey, and all but tossed the notebook back at him. Fernando looked at Mickey, and Mickey felt ashamed. Fernando had a very steady gaze, and Mickey couldn't return it. He put his hands in his pockets and stretched out his legs again, staring at his boots. Fernando scribbled something and held the notebook up for Mickey to see. It said, "I don't want anything. I thought we could just talk." His face was devoid of emotion. Not sad, not angry, just a face, like a photograph of someone named Fernando. Mickey looked at Fernando, considering whether to trust him or not. "Screw it," he said out loud after a brief moment, and reached for the notebook. "We can't talk," he wrote, "but we can write." He smiled at Fernando, and Fernando smiled back. That's the end of that one.
Well, if you have read that one before, I only vaguely remember it so much. It must have been a long time ago.
I think it was a while back. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was good to hear it again. I probably asked you this question back then, but can you share what the inspiration for that was? Was that something that you experienced?
Yeah, it's funny because when I was just reading it, I realized he didn't want to pay $3 for cigarettes at the bar and was going to get them at the store, the discount store, for $1.85. And I was like, okay, you can tell that was written in the. It wasn't. I wrote it probably within the last year, but it was about something that was in the late '80s, early '90s. Because I don't think you can get a pack of cigarettes. I don't smoke anymore, but you can't. I don't think you can get a pack for $3, especially thinking that's a steep price. But yeah, I was sitting on the train one night, drunk on the platform one night, drunk somewhere in Chicago, and a guy came up and put a notebook down and said, "Why are you sad?" And I had the little notebook papers forever. We had a conversation, and I remember telling him, "I'm not sad, I'm drunk." But I don't remember, because I was probably like sitting there, and I had those papers forever. I don't know what happened to them, but I just kind of. I don't really remember what we talked about, but I thought it was thought it would make an interesting story.
You were right. I liked it.
Thanks.
Anybody want to go next or have
Yeah,
anything?
we can sandwich this. We can
Okay.
go music store music. I'm gonna move this back though, just so I'm not, because I feel like if it's too close, the mic just gets it really weird with the guitar. I thought it was interesting that you had made the Red Wing comment about, oh, I've been meaning to write about Red Wings. And then it's funny because then from your story, so the song I'm going to play is Chicago by Sufjan Stevens. And so I just like that there's that little connecting thread there. But yeah, so I was going to play Chicago by Sufjan Stevens. And can everybody hear that okay? Thumbs up. Cool. I feel like I like this distance too because it's like far enough that I'm not seeing immediate faces and reactions. But cool. I fell in love again. All things go, all things go. Drove to Chicago. All things know, all things know. We sold our clothes to the States. I don't mind, I don't mind. I made a lot of mistakes in my mind, in my mind. I drove to New York in a van with my friend. We slept in parking lots. I don't mind, I don't mind. I was in love with the place. In my mind, in my mind, I made a lot of mistakes. In my mind, in my mind, you came to take us. All things go, all things go to recreate us. All things grow, all things grow. We had our mindset. All things know, all things know. You had to find it. All things go, all things go. Ooh, ooh. If I was crying in a van with my friend, it was for freedom from myself and from the land. I made a lot of mistakes. 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 You came to take us. All things go, all things go to recreate us. All things grow, all things grow. We had our mindset. All things know, all things know. You had to find it. All things go, all things go. Ooh, ooh. Oh, ooh, ooh. Thank you.
Yay! I love Sufjan Stevens.
Yes. Always a good time with Sufjan, except it's usually a very sad time, but still a good
It
time.
is. I know some of the most one of his most disturbing songs. I don't know what it is. I just love it so much.
I mean, take your pick. He's there's one that he does. Maybe it's called Romulus, where it's about how his mom not being very present and how he went to go live with his grandparents. And in there's videos of him, playing it live, and he'll be playing it and then get caught up halfway through and be like, am I some sort of masochist for doing this? Like, what am I doing? And it's very personal song. It's a beautiful song. Yeah, he did not. It's funny. I don't know. I was just thinking about, Eminem, Slim Shady did the whole thing about like going after his mom, and so many rappers are like, I'm not, I don't want to have beef with Eminem. And Sufjan did not, pull any punches when it came to singing about his mom. So it's just funny.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say too, just this. I play guitar for my kids, before bed, and I play that song for them sometimes. I'm like, because I do just indie alternative songs. It's not just like Kumbaya or whatever. And so sometimes I'm like, is this too indie alternative? Is too okay for this age range? But it's funny because it's called Chicago, but Gabe just knows it as, I fell in love again. And I'm like, okay, we'll be fine then if that's the takeaway from it.
That's sweet.
Plus, I feel like kids love dark songs. They love them.
Well, I'm chock full of them, so thank goodness.
Yeah, I mean, I listed off some of our kids' favorite songs when they were younger. It was not what most people would imagine. They think kids songs.
Well, if you do any research on what "Oh My Darling Clementine" was all about, I mean, that was pretty grody. That was pretty dark. So,
I mean, you think of all those Disney movies that are dealing with death and these bigger themes, where it's like they're exposed to some of this stuff.
Yeah. They're having deep thoughts, just like the rest of us.
Yeah. Learning to process early on. Through music. That's what it's all about. Well, thank you. Thank you for sharing that one. I look forward to more indie alternative favorites from Will in the future. All right, Vicky. So patient.
All right, continuing the theme of death and sadness. Here we go. Yes, we're all safe. So, hospital waiting room, morning. My late husband's mother, my mother-in-law, 85, Esther, sits in a wheelchair staring into space. Her 4 grandkids, my sister-in-law has 3 kids, my kid, sit nearby. They're all in their 20s and they all are looking at their phones. I gaze out the floor-to-ceiling window at the palm trees, braving the strong winds and the merciless Florida sun. Now, finally, a door opens from the ICU, and my sister-in-law, my late husband's sister, Rachel, comes in with her husband, Sam. They pull up chairs. So now we're all pretty much sitting in a circle. And my sister-in-law, Rachel, says, we've been here a week. The doctor has tried everything to try to wake up Grandpa's heart muscle. Nothing has worked so far. We want you all to weigh in. My mother-in-law continues staring into space, and the rest of us look at the floor. Nobody says anything. Rachel continues. He's stable. He's sedated. He could be like this for months while we wait. Miracles do happen. What do you guys think? And of course, still, nobody says a word. Well, finally, her husband, Sam, says, as a physician, the thing is that the best we could hope for would be that he would be in a wheelchair hooked to machines. We don't know what brain damage he has sustained. Alternatively, we could reduce support. And one of his kids says, okay, what do you mean? Well, life support is a combination of medications and devices that keep the body alive when the organs stop working. Reducing support is done in a sequence. First, blood products are no longer administered. Second, ventilator is removed. Third, nutrition is discontinued, followed by antibiotics and intravenous fluids. At each of these steps, if the body cannot rally, then the organs would begin to shut down. First organ to shut down. So at this, strange sounds start coming out of my mouth, like this weird burbling. And my sister-in-law says, are you all right? And I say, well, I was until that speech. And then I'm laughing. I am laughing uncontrollably. And then my mother-in-law lets out these weird gasps, and we're all on our feet. We are rallying around her. And one of Rachel's kids says, Grandpa would have written a joke about this. And one of the other kids says, yeah, what were some of the jokes from his act? And my kid says, the doctor gave me these tests to take home, and every night I have to pee on a stick. If the stick turns purple, I lost weight. If my shoe turns yellow, and we all say it in unison, every one of us, including Esther, I missed the stick. 20 minutes later, hospital bathroom off the waiting room, and my kid and I enter, and my kid says, oh my God, Mom, thank God you laughed. That was unbearable. I say, I feel really bad that I did that. No, Mom, what were we going to say? That wasn't for us to decide. I just feel really bad that I didn't get down here the last couple years. You talked to Grandpa a lot on the phone. He was so happy for you touring. Yeah, I'd say, got gigs, checks clear. He would have taken those gigs. Yeah, I know. A couple hours later, in the ICU, my father-in-law is lying in a hospital bed. He is hooked up to machines, and he looks as though he's sleeping. Lights flash. One of the units beeps, and these colored lights go up and down on the monitors. And I'm standing a little behind my kid to kind of give a little more space. I can't see my kid's face. My sister-in-law, Rachel, is seated on her father's bed, and she's scrolling through her phone looking for something. And she says, Daddy, we're all here. I think you can hear us. They say you are in a dream state. Oh, here it is. I have it on my phone. Daddy, I wanted to read your favorite lyrics. I've lived a life that's full. I have traveled each and every highway and more, much more. I did it my way. Say hi to your son, Daddy. I know he was your favorite. And then we all join hands and we sing, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And one of the nurses quietly flips a switch, removes wires. The machines are silent, the monitors flatline, and he's gone. A few minutes later, we are all packed in the elevator, and my sister-in-law says, all right, so everyone needs to get flights tomorrow for New York. I will call and book the hotel. I will talk to the rabbi. The funeral will be Tuesday. Oh, and she looks at me. Tuesday is your birthday. Is that okay? Yes, I say. Are you sure? Of course. We'll do cake before. That's really okay. Half an hour later, we're in the rental car. My kid is in the passenger seat. I am driving. I pull into the parking lot of a TJ Maxx and I park. And I say, I could just wear what I have on. I'm in all black. Mom, don't embarrass yourself. Jeans, a t-shirt, really? We're gonna shop. Actually, it's kind of good. We're finally going to the cemetery to see, you'll see where your dad is buried. Because, when I die, you're gonna have to go there. And it really would be hard to go there for the first time then. Mom, what are you talking about? Well, I got a plot for me there. I thought you'd want me with Dad. Mom, how do you know I can even go there? Do you understand the trauma that I have experienced? After Dad killed himself 10 years ago, I have had a recurring dream. Daddy rotting in a box, his eyes falling out. I didn't know that. Well, that's what happens. I guess, most people just don't really think about that. You don't. No one does. I thought that you said you didn't want to go because it's just bones in a box, that Daddy's not really there. God, Mom, I don't know. Mom, I need you to stop talking about this. And then my kid starts to cry and gasp for air. And so I hold on to the steering wheel. I don't say anything. I don't make a move. But finally, they are able to grab their wallet and get a hold of the car door and push it open. I follow them into TJ Maxx. A few minutes later, inside of TJ Maxx, there are these long, narrow aisles just packed with clothes hanging on these long rods. And they have everything divided, by color and by type, like jackets and pants and skirts and dresses. And we concentrate, we focus, we assume a positive attitude because, we want to find what we need. And we take our clothes into the fitting rooms. And we come out and we stand in front of one of those big mirrors. And my kid has on an oversized men's black jacket and a leotard and a pencil skirt and tights and Doc Martens. And I have been able to find a see-through lace top thing that goes over my t-shirt. And I have black dress pants and I have on my flat shoes. And we see that above the mirror, it says, "Welcome, fashionistas." And we start laughing. We are just uncontrollably laughing at that. And my kid says, "Mom, we look good." And I say, honey, you don't ever have to go to the cemetery, really. You can just have me cremated and you can put me in one of those little boxes and you can keep me on the shelf next to your cat. Oh God, Mom, really? Jesus, I'll probably go to the cemetery. Well, you don't have to decide now. No, Mom, I don't. And so 2 days later, interior of the synagogue in Westchester, New York. The pews are really full. My kid and I are sitting in the front, and my sister-in-law is up on the bima. And my sister-in-law, Rachel, says, "Dad, after your lung cancer surgery, the doctor said to me, oh, your father could have hallucinations from the drugs. He could go to a dark place." And I remembered, Dad, after the surgery, how you sat up in your hospital bed and you said, "Len and the guys were here last night to play cards. How did they get in?" And they brought Deli. Daddy, you never saw darkness. You saw Deli. And then my kid gets up on the bima and says, "Grandpa, you believed in me as an artist, a performer like you. I want to say a line from a Bob Dylan song. Remember, death is not the end. And half an hour later, we are in the limo with other family members, my kid and I. We pull up to the cemetery, we park. And I can see people surrounding the grave, maybe 20 feet away from us. My kid puts their hand on the door of the car and pushes open the door. And they walk over. They begin to walk toward those people. And I follow. We get closer and closer. And there's that tall headstone with the family name. And nearby, there's this little stone, hardly legible, half covered with dirt. My late husband's stone, my kid's dad's stone. My kid glances at that stone. And then the rabbi says something in Hebrew, and he gives us very clear instructions. We are to fill the hole where my father-in-law's casket is. We are to completely fill that hole. And so we begin one by one. We pick up the shovel and we throw in the dirt, and we pick up the shovel and throw in the dirt. And my kid does this in line with everyone else. And when it's done, we step aside, and my kid says, I don't find this meaningful, Mom. This is weird. This whole place. Whose idea was any of this? And I say, in the movie version, we would start running down the road now, and we would kick our heels together, and we would disappear over the horizon. And my kid says, Mom, don't embarrass yourself. Honestly, that would be nice. It's the end. The end. Ah.
Ooh, boy. Yeah, that's good stuff.
Right on the theme of the evening. Thank you.
Oh, that's a great story. I love your stories. I love hearing you tell your stories. I think I've asked you before if you write them down, and you don't, do you usually?
I do write them. Here they are. And I had to, this is our first reading of it, so I had to look back. But yeah, I do. I write them word for word, but as I rehearse them and work on them, they change. They kind of change, and then I'll go back and change it.
And you don't necessarily compile, like they're not in a, it's not like you don't publish them, right? You just, you.
I don't publish them. The written versions are for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like scripts, I guess. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's a first draft or first spoken draft.
Yeah, first time I shared it with anybody, so I had some thoughts about it, but that was really helpful. Thank you.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thank you for using it.
It was really nice, Vicki, and it felt very spontaneous. If you were reading it, you didn't give any of that away. So it was, yeah, very, very, very spontaneous feeling.
Was it hard then to have was that being the first time reading it for people, like emotionally?
I'll say no, but only because I felt ready to tell it to you guys. You know, I did in some of the very early drafts of it, read it to some people in workshops, and I would get very emotional, and I'm like, oh, it's not ready to come out of just a very safe workshop. And now it is. To me, it is. I don't get, I feel some emotion about it, but it doesn't overwhelm me as it did in the beginning.
Good. I like that. I like that it's ready. Yeah. It's ready to be out there. Do you have plans for it to do it in person somewhere in LA?
Not this one. It's a little long. Most of the opportunities that we have here are like 5 to 7 minutes. So it's a little long, but there are some places I can do longer stories, so I will seek those out.
Cool. Yeah, I think, yes, I hope you tell that story more. And thank you again for sharing it with us. So Jonathan and Scarlett, do you have another one this evening that you wanted to share?
Yeah, I think we may step back from the graveside for this one a little bit, but
Not too far, you know.
not too far. Well, I would have to say Mick, the guy who wrote most of these songs, he tended toward a little bit of a dark streak for some of these things. This is probably one of his more up. I won't say not upbeat, but it's just a little more sentimental.
It's called The Apple Tree Man, and so it's very nature focused. Another autumn one, so similar to the last one. There,
Yeah.
The songs land in autumn a lot of times. So yeah, we were just run through it a couple times. I think I missed it there.
It's all right. I'm vamping.
Thanks.
Go ahead.
Take the old river road to the bridge by the crossroads. There on the gate hangs a sign to the path through the woods on the south side of the big house. In the hollow lives the apple tree man.
And it's all for the cider, the cobbler, and the pie.
Me oh my, says I.
And it's all for the apple tree man, my friend.
And he'll spin me a line. Ain't that fine, fine? Ain't that fine? The apple tree man knows my mind. Now too many questions and not enough answers don't mean a thing to the man. For the bees come in springtime for to frolic in the blossoms. With autumn comes the harvest we plan.
And it's all for the cider, the cobbler, and the pie.
Me oh my, says I.
And it's all for the apple tree man is my friend.
And he'll spin me a line. Ain't that fine, fine?
Ain't that fine?
The apple tree man knows my mind. With buskin, the tarts, and the crumble, and the hard drink, Moneymore's the duff and the dunk. With the new maids a dancing and the cider press blessing, the last apple's hanging near the trunk.
And it's all for the cider, the cobbler, and the pie. Me oh my, says I. And it's all for the apple tree man is my friend.
And he'll spin me a line. Ain't that fine, fine?
Ain't that fine?
The apple tree man knows my mind. That's me on my dad's part.
Yeah. That's me on my own part, so take it as you will. But
That was great. Oh, I like that
I
one.
changed the key a little bit, but that's how it goes.
Does it go just a little higher? Because it seems low in your voice. I mean, knowing that I've heard your voice.
Well, what was it?
I'm the limiting factor on the vocal range, so we sort of had to find a sweet spot that worked for me as well as Scarlett. So
It might have. I don't remember if we like actually lowered it, but it would have been too like I would have had to. I don't know.
Oh yeah, like sing it up the octave, and it would have been like way too high. Yeah.
Whatever it was, we figured it out.
Yes, you worked it out. And I love that you have an audience, a live audience. I mean, we're live too, but
you have no idea.
wow.
You have no idea how live the audience was while we were on mute. We actually had my granddaughter and her friend come in while we were on mute, and they were looking for some place to scream.
Oh.
So we were trying to hold our cool while two 6-year-olds were in the other room trying to cut through the mute with screaming. So it was, yeah, right. Well, I don't know why the parents were screaming.
Oh, why? Why would they be screaming?
Why not? Just
Why not?
that kind of a day. No, I'm just kidding. It's not a screaming kind of day for me, but whatever floats your boat.
That's right. Yeah. It's always good to evacuate the lungs one way or another.
Evacuate the lungs. Oh, yes, deep breathing or otherwise. Well, wonderful. Was anybody else intending to have a second go around this evening? It's okay if you did or not.
I've got another one I could do.
Okay, let's do it.
Cool. I'm gonna move this back again. Let me just double check this. I really need to change the strings on my guitar. I feel like it's just getting out of tune. But I wasn't gonna do it today before this because that would have been way too soon before playing. So I wrote this one, and again, my youngest son Gabe loves titling things, and so this one's called "I Know What Happens at the Fork," is what he came up with for it. Otherwise, I don't really have a name for it, and I feel like even that title's a bit long, but I'll give it to him for now. And everyone can still hear that okay? Yeah, cool. I'm seeing some notes. Good. I've been walking every day, trying to move myself away from thoughts that cling to me, away from who I thought I'd be. 'Cause I've been down this path before. I know what happens at the court. I'm just trying to stay alive, keep it bright in front of my eyes. Breathing slowly, never knowing if it's worth it in the end. Had it once, it's gone again. So go if you know how, and be what you believe, and change if you can. Just move yourself across this land. I keep moving down this path, no longer looking for things that will last. I have found peace in what I see. What's not there is just fantasy, 'cause things are always what they seem. Actions untaken, their volume scream. When you dream together, untangle the tether, stay light, stay open, then you let hope in. Breathe in slowly, just keep going. Don't look back, the past can't change. One step and one breath, nothing's the same. So go if you know how, and be what you believe, and change if you can. Just
move yourself across this land and go somewhere that's new and be whatever you dream and change what's at hand. Just move yourself. I know you can. You can. Thank you. I'll move that back.
Oh, I like that one. So that one, you wrote that one. Is that what I am hearing?
Yeah, that's the first one, like a full song that I've written in a very long time. Yeah, I just started fooling around with it, and then it just kept evolving as it happens. And then I was like, wait a second, I finished this. That's been a while, so
Cool.
yeah.
Good.
I used to live in Long Beach for a year after I graduated college in Missouri State. I went to California and lived with some relatives, and so back when I was there, I had a band, a duo. I was playing with this other guy, and so we were doing a ton of open mic nights, and I was just cranking out songs, just like left and right. And then after I moved to Wyoming for a bit, and then down to Colorado. And whenever I moved to Colorado, I just stopped writing as much. I just got caught up in career stuff, and it just, I don't know. So it was nice to rework those muscles again after so long. And so it's nice to share it with you all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for sharing. Yes, that's what this is for, just a safe space to share what you got going on.
We really liked it. Our whole round.
Yeah, you had a big round of applause in the room here. So,
Well, thank you.
Do you have anything recorded? Is there anything online that people can?
Oh, some of that stuff from back in California is still out there. Under Van Alva, VAN space ALVA. So you see a much younger version looking of me, because that was probably a decade ago at that point. But some of that stuff, but I've never gotten anything recorded on Spotify or Apple or anything like that. It's just been here and there and just all around. So.
And at first, I thought you said that the song was called I Know What Happens with the Fork, but that's not what you said. Once you sang it, I was like, no, I don't think that's what that verse is.
That becomes a very darker song of, no, it was, yes, at the fork.
At the fork. Okay. At the fork. Actually, literally, not a fork, but like fork in the road. Yes. Got it. Sorry, sometimes it's hard. But I was like, then is it the port or is it anyway?
That's good.
Oh gosh. Okay. Thank you. I'll have to go back and listen to that again. Okay. I think that we should probably wrap it up for this evening.